Back to Staples Center. You know, strength down the middle is always important, and the LA Kings have that, especially on the defensive side of the puck. But so far, if you can believe it, after this many games, 9 of them in fact, none of their centers have any goals. Richards, Kopitar, Lewis, and Stoll all off the score sheet in terms of goals scored, and still they're 6-3. A very interesting scenario. We're set for period number 1. Here's the call. Rob Kerr and Charlie Zimmer.
Calgary Flames and the LA Kings, the first of 5 meetings this season as we bring you the starting goalies, brought to you by Intact Insurance. Your home, your auto, your business. Ask your broker about Intact Insurance Company. Kari Ramo makes his second consecutive start. The 2-time KHL All-Star was Calgary's best player, according to Bob Hartley, on Saturday in San Jose. Jonathan Quick, what can you say? He's one of the league's best netminders. I fully expect the Kings' workhorse will be Team USA starter at the Olympics in Sochi in February. And in the shadow of Hollywood, one has to think of Jay Feaster talking to the media prior to the season, quoting Rocky Balboa. It doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get up and keep moving forward. And that will be the test for the Flames tonight. This Kings team has been trouble for Calgary the last couple of years, as LA's won the last 4 meetings between these squads. That's Calgary's Michael Backlund fighting for the puck at center, but it's dumped in. Kari Ramo giving a few instructions to Mark Giordano. DJ Gagliardi pushes the puck ahead, kind of a new line combination. We're going to see some of those from Bob Hartley tonight with Mike Camilleri coming back in.
Well, you're going to have lots of change, especially when you haven't won in 2 games. And this is the opportunity that he's going to take with his young players and with his experienced players as we get a look at Mike Camilleri playing his first game of the season. In fact, his first shift, he gets on the ice, that he's able to move players in because of the system, not only here, but in Abbotsford, will accommodate that.
Mike Camilleri, originally drafted by the LA Kings. Flames on the attack. Quick with one save right off the toe. Stempniak out in front, and it's pitchforked in it quick. And the puck came loose. Mike Camilleri already adding a little offensive spark to the Calgary Flames lineup.
Well, and we mentioned it before this game started. Winning faceoffs are so important because you end up with possession of the puck. And there you can see great action with Colborne, Stempniak, and Mike Camilleri getting control of that puck, because the youngster, Colborne, wins the faceoff. They keep the puck in the offensive zone, and now they can go, instead of just chasing it, go at the net.
Flames with 2 losses so far on this road trip, but the one positive has been the play of Joe Colborne, who's really come into his own, particularly in the game in Anaheim, and he's carried through with his best performance against San Jose on Saturday. Kings now rattling around inside Calgary territory. Stempniak sweeps at it, can't get out, and Russell with it. Pass intercepted. Brought across the line, shot. Ramo with the toe save as Matt Fratton back in the lineup for the Kings tonight, and he gets an early chance.
Just a rusty play by Mike Camilleri there. You want to make sure that you keep that puck on the boards.
Jeff Carter's not rusty. Side of the net. Puck's underneath Ramo. Whistle had gone. And Lee Stempniak says, not on my watch. He dumps Colin Fraser.
Well, they really got in hard, as Kyle Clifford was the player that came in late. He's on the ice. He was already deposited down on the ice, but that's where you protect your goaltender. And a better place than right here on the road. And here's Camilleri. Gets that puck on the boards. He's outside the blue line, and that's where you have to be sharp. And that's the system that the Flames have been playing. And Mike Camilleri, give him a credit right there. There's a loose puck. It was sitting there. The referee had lost sight of it. Clifford, in a defensive position right at the top of the faceoff, came flying in looking for that rebound, but I like the way that the Flames stood up for their goaltender there.
The captain, Mark Giordano, swings it over to TJ Brodie. Out across the red line, onto the stick of Jiri Hudler. The red-hot Jiri Hudler takes a big hit from Jake Muzzin, and Hudler's down. Back up on his feet now. Muzzin got a little forearm in up on Hudler, but he seems okay. Calgary, Verchi trying to wrap it around in front of the net, can't. Puck's intercepted, and away come the Kings. Dan Carcillo has it knocked off his stick by Brodie, and Big Sean Monahan looks right as Hudler went left, and that's an icing call. Keys to the game are brought to you by Budweiser. Great games are waiting.
Well, the Flames really have to be a lot sharper here tonight with their discipline. They gave 9 opportunities for San Jose the other night. Way too many. Kings, one of the bigger clubs in the league. They like to skate. and they are second in the league in hits.
Fratton watched along the boards by Monahan. Puck comes back to the line. Mitchell will keep it in. Giordano jumps on it. Agitated on the play, but the Flames manage to clear the zone. They'll make a couple of changes. Voinov across the line to Clifford, poked off his stick. As the Kings continue to buzz in the Flames' end. Giordano, his pass looking for Boma, but Voinov picked it up. Boma gets it back, chips it in. After it, Ben Street just shoots it wide. He's knocked down onto the way to the net. Both teams coming out with a little jump in their step here to start the first period.
Well, again, you look at the size. The Kings 6'1", about 209 pounds average. That is part of their game, their skating and hitting ability. And the Flames have to match. They're not going to match hit for hit, but they've got to keep themselves actively involved.
Flames take Tim Jackman out of the lineup to bring Camilleri back in, so they take away a little size there to get the offense. And a penalty coming up. And the Kings will go to the power play.
Here is the basket of half-eaten zucchini sticks from the win known as Money Monday.
Pick your winners today with Pools.
Curtis Glencross going in with the one hand on the forecheck. Unfortunately for him, he gets the stick in a little bit too aggressively. Cassillo goes down, and Glencross goes in the box. So here's these type of penalties you don't want your club taking. You're not going to complain a good hard board check or an open ice hit, but when you get the tripping and hooking calls in the offensive zone, you drive a coach crazy.
Flames dump it down the ice. The Kings with just one power play goal and 16 opportunities over the last 5 games. Charlie already mentioned the woes which beset the Flames Saturday night in San Jose, giving up 9 power play opportunities to the hottest team in the league. And Charlie, it's been persistent over the last couple of years.
Well, they've had really one good year in 2011, 2012. Ninth is not a bad place to be. But again, you have to work hard. And this is the type of team, I think, with the work ethic that they have, that they can be successful on the penalty kill. The only thing they really have to focus on is winning that face-off in the defensive zone so they can clear it and kill a lot of time off the clock.
Kings get it in. Giordano's there. Hits it off the one-hop and he'll dump it down the ice. Those with an optimistic outlook will look at the glass being half full. The one thing that's happened on this road trip with the penalty kill is it's created offense. Went to the shorthanded goal in 2 previous games. Stempniak played a large role in both of those, as is Michael Backman, who scored his first ever shorthanded goal in San Jose on Saturday night. He's out there right now for Calgary, but it's Matt Green, the former Oiler, with the puck.
And this is what a good penalty kill will do. They'll be aggressive. They'll force the opposition into making plays that they don't want to make. Everybody has a set play to get into the offensive zone and how to make things happen. Just disturb them as they're coming up the ice. It just makes it so much more difficult.
Fratton rolling it around the boards. He comes back to the point. Waiting for it is Doughty. Down to Fraser, into Fratton. Clifford parked out in front of Kari Ramo. Now he'll go behind the net to come up with it. Calgary get it. That's Russell, but he can't get it by Mitchell. But Mitchell gloved it ahead, so the faceoff will come to the neutral zone.
Again, very aggressive play as we get a good look at Willie Mitchell, and this has been a big story for him. Missed all of last year with a knee injury, and they missed him on that point because of the size. But here's the enthusiasm I really like to see as Chris Russell keeps his feet moving. He's got an active stick. He gets the puck up high on the glass, and that forces that hand pass.
Mitchell at age 36, you had to wonder if missing all that time might spell the end of his career, but it has not. He has come back, and there's been a real boost for Daryl Sutter's squad. Here's Anze Kopitar around Ben Street on the backhand, but Giordano came over and knocked it away from Kopitar. Puck at the point, Mitchell shot blocked. Jay Gagliardi got in front of Mitchell's point shot. That one's off the post, and the Flames get it to the line, but not out. Drew Doughty, good job to keep it in. Doughty sets up shot, penalized player back out on the ice. Penalty is over, no shots on goal. And Curtis Glencross back out there now, a 2-on-1 for Calgary. Gagliardi as Glencross catches up, loses control of the puck, and Doughty sliding over. Emphasize that by punching it out to center. So Calgary killing off LA's first power play. Looked really good doing it. We'll see if that adds some confidence to this team on the road. Yuri Hudler Going to go back to the point. Butler wasn't in place, but it didn't matter. Former Flame Robin Regeer around to King. First time that Regeer has faced his former team as a member of the Kings. He played them once as a member of the Buffalo Sabres. The Calgary and LA were done last year after the Kings acquired Regeer from Buffalo at the trade deadline. Regeer playing it back in. Kings trapped offside. Shane O'Brien finds his partner Chris Butler up the middle, tipped in. Berchi after it. Sizes up the opposition, gets a stick on it. Hoodler coming in to support. Monahan comes over, hits his player. King. Monahan goes to the net, won't come up with it. Battling with Voyanov. Slava Voyanov's pass comes right to Butler. Shot in traffic. Oh, quick with the glove. And it's too easy to say that that was really, really fast. As they break up a little scrum in front of Jonathan Quick. We're scoreless here at Staples.
This period brought to you by the redesigned 2014 Toyota Tundra. Tough enough for any project.
Rob, some pretty good saves so far in this game. Justin Williams lets his snapshot go. Good blocker save by Ramo off the leg of Kopitar. I know you and I thought it hit the post as it went by. And there's an aggressive save by the goaltender. And that's a good sign for him to see him get aggressive, get that blocker out there, and then how quickly he moved back to that right post.
Weidman playing it back behind the LA net. Camilleri battling for it. Quick just blockers that to the corner. Green is there. Can't get it by Stempniak. Lee Stempniak to Russell. His shot just whistles wide. Big Joe Colborne parked in front of Quick, providing a screen. Calgary now trying to cycle. Carter intercepts that, but can't get it by Camilleri. Right back onto the stick of Stempniak. Shot from the point. Weidman, and that one tipped out. Now a chance for Richards. Trying to get in behind Weidman. Backhand shoots it wide. Ari Ramo facing another breakaway. Brent Burns in a penalty shot in that first period against San Jose. Stopped him, and not quite a penalty shot, but Richards in behind the Flames defenders. Backlund across the line, but it's offside.
But again, the Flames really pressing and putting some good offensive threats. Their shot doesn't even reach the front of the net, goes off the leg of Green, and then there's that quick outlet pass, but Weidman forces Richards to the backhand, and that allows the goaltender, Gramo, to play a little bit easier. Now he knows he can't come across the body, so he plays that backhand and is a little bit more aggressive. So good teamwork there between a goalie and his defenseman.
Get a good look at that battle between Kyle Clifford and TJ Gagliardi off that face-off. Gagliardi, of course, a former member of the San Jose Sharks, would have played an awful lot against the LA Kings the last season or two. Up tip to the point, Glenn Cross trying to get it by Doughty, can't, does on the second effort. Backlund chipping it in, but coming back on the play is Trevor Lewis. Lewis pestered by Backlund. Lewis gets a little help from Doughty, shouted out to his teammate where to go with the puck, but Calgary's there. Big hit by Lewis. He dropped Gagliardi in his tracks. So all that talking off the face-off manifests itself into a big hit. Now Gagliardi dumped again. The bench didn't seem to like the second hit. Big Brian McGrath to Shane O'Brien. Finds himself in the LA end. Now he spins around. He's done that a couple of times. Shane O'Brien's been working on that spin around. Not quite Dennis Savard, but close.
Maybe Serge Savard of the Montreal Canadiens, who used to give that little spin every once in a while.
Shot goes off McGrath and stick into the mesh, and a whistle goes.
Don't forget to play Safeway's $1 Million Score and Win. If any Flames player scores 5 times in tonight's game, Charlie Murray of Mountain View could win $1 million. Shop and swipe at Safeway. You could be our next lucky winner right here on Sportsnet West.
TJ Gagliardi, you can see a little bit of blood coming out of the chip. The lip. He wanted to line up Colin Fraser right here, and fortunately for him, that curved glass between the benches saved him a very serious injury right there. That's a good piece of technology that really helped out this game.
Minor little tweak that doesn't probably get the publicity it deserves, but it's gone a long way in the last couple of years of keeping players safe.
Well, it used to be just a 90-degree angle right there between the metal, a little bit of cushioning, and glass. and a lot of hurt.
Hoodler out to center, can't get it away from Jake Muzzin. Muzzin with it. There's Carter. Good shot. Handled easily by Kari Ramos. His second consecutive starting goal for Calgary, third this season for the Flames. Still looking for his first win as a member of the Calgary Flames. Stepniak trying to hold it in, can't. Puck played out to the blue line of the Flames. There's Buckle. His pass goes off Fratton's stick. And Robin Regeer back to get it. Jerome McGinley has played more games as a member of the Calgary Flames than Robin Regeer, either with the team this season. Puck comes back to Joe Colborne. In traffic, that one just whistles wide. And it's played back out to center. Colborne is there. Finds Stempniak. Pestered on the play by Dan Carcillo, and those words have never been uttered about Dan Carcillo, pestering a player. Coming over from Chicago in the offseason, won the Cup with Chicago, and then got traded here to LA after it was over.
Well, you know, he's Daryl Sutter kind of player, and he made some big comments about how he has to limit him to so many number of minutes.
Puck turned over, Justin Brown to the net. That one shot wide. Brown was stopped by Ramo, but Justin Williams, cruising in the area, did get a rebound. Quick watches it. No icing. Back to get it is TJ Gagliardi. Perfect example of hybrid icing and how it works right there as the Flames beat it out, now have some pressure. Giordano's shot bounces to the corner. Kopitar is there. Backlund trying to get it away from the other number 11. Brown can't get it by Brody. Backlund protecting the puck. And gets it by Brown, and the Kings have it. Williams, coming off a three-point game against Dallas on Saturday, loses it. Curtis Glencross will just sweep it in. He's going to head off for a line change. And
very aggressive, much like you saw in the third period in Anaheim, and most of that third period in San Jose. The Flames making sure that they keep moving.
Gary Hoodler knocking the puck down with a high stick, but the Kings got to it first and keep it in play. Lewis goes for the big skate. Shot goes wide. Hoodler can't get it away from Fraser. Fraser trying to wrap around, take advantage of those smaller nets, but Kari Ramo read it well. And now some more pushing and shoving. Monahan in there, Russell in there, Hoodler in there, Clifford's in there. Justin Williams has been red hot of late, but Kari Ramo with a little help from his defenseman.
No doubt the return of Mike Camilleri is a welcome sight, and the statistical evidence from last year proves it. Look at the numbers he placed on this team in the 2013 season. This is a contract year for Mike. He's extra motivated. Now he's back on the ice and no doubt ready to play. Rob?
Certainly had a good start to this first period. Already had a scoring chance on his first shift and has been feisty, Charlie.
And all the Flames have, and that's a good sign. You're going up a bit against a bigger club. They're playing at home, and the Flames right now aren't happy with the two results of the first two games here in Southern California.
Carter to take the draw with Michael Backlund. Face-offs one area the Flames continue to struggle mightily in. And they knew that coming in. They knew that that part of their game was going to be a work in progress.
Well, and especially against a team like Los Angeles, where all their centermen are above 52% face-off winning.
Backlund. More dependable centerman out there right now for Calgary. The Kings come out with it, and this is Robin Regeer shoveling it ahead to Carter. Sidesteps a hit from Wideman. Dennis Wideman finds Glencross across the line, loses the puck. King to Richards, and they just dump it into the Flames corner.
It's a pretty settled down now. Both teams are trying to match up their lines. Of course, Daryl Sutter has that last change here on the road, and that's been a big learning curve, I think, for the youngster Sean Monahan, because he has to face some of the top centermen when he's on the road.
Pretty tough to hide a player when you are away from home. Willie Mitchell over Belyanov, looking for the tip. Kopitar looking for the puck. And Ben Street has it. Chipped out to center. Brian McGrattan. He got hip checked by Slava Belyanov. McGrattan now lining up Brown, but he missed with the big hit. Brown saw him coming, spun out of the way. You could hear Brian McGrattan coming.
Well, and that's a good play by him, because he realized that Brown sees him, but he makes sure that he keeps the hit legal.
For help finding the best tires for your vehicle and your budget, talk to Cal during our Don't Wait for Winter sale, featuring the Michelin LTX Winter. Sale ends November 2nd.
Sportsnet 960 The Fan is Calgary's only 24/7 all-sports radio. Proud to be the radio home for the Calgary Flames every game all season.
Big shot of the Hall of Famer Peter Marr and his new color man, Peter Labardius. As they are working in the booth next to us, Joe Colborne gets thrown out. And coming in, Mike Camilleri, who spent a lot of time playing in the middle last year for Bob Hartley.
Well, face-offs too, for him, he's worked at it. And that's tough when you have a hand injury to try and continue to work on it, but he really uses his, if you want to say it, lack of height to his advantage, because he really gets down low on a stick and he has that strength.
Flames struggling to get the puck out. Giordano in after, Carcillo there as well. Now it comes to TJ Brodie. He shepherds it ahead. Brodie takes a hit. Flames can't get it out. Stuck. Brodie will try again. Green and Camilleri go to the boards. Now Giordano out to center. Is worked by the Kings to hem Calgary in, but this one ends up in the Kings bench.
Well, Bob Hartley really was unhappy at the post game of San Jose. He seemed a bit more relaxed in his morning skate. As you mentioned, he really had a lot of praise for Ramo, and the biggest complaint I think he had was the lack of discipline. He knows that the team knew that you're going up against one of the top premier clubs in the National Hockey with one of the best power plays, and to take penalties like that, especially after they got themselves back into the game at 4-3 in the third.
Kings out to center. Clifford pestered by Monahan. Ramo comes out of the net, gets trapped. Puck's caught in speed. He's stuck at the side of the net, but he gets some help from Shane O'Brien. Kyle Ramo's not exactly Mike Smith playing the puck back.
No, he's not, because, I mean, all the last few years in Europe, they don't play the puck much in that league. The rinks are bigger.
Yuri Hudler also spent time in the KHL for one season. Up there with the youngsters. And Hudler back to the blue line. No stick for Colin Fraser. Yuri Hudler read that, took advantage of it. Puck comes back to the blue line and will get out, and Fraser will go over the boards. So that problem averted for the Kings. No score here in the first period. Shots favoring LA 6-4. Calgary come up with it. Here's Backlund. Tapped away from him. And Backlund very dogged on the forecheck.
Very solid Willie Mitchell with that long stick. As we've had some stories in the past when he was with the Vancouver Canucks. Of course, his size, he's able to have that strong reach.
Chris Weidman back to get it. Of course, you refer to Mike Keenan, the former Flame coach, calling Willie Mitchell out in the pregame scrum, and Mitchell came out for the pregame skate with a huge stick, an extended stick, to kind of make a mockery of it. It was rather actually very funny.
He put two shafts of the stick together, so it had to be 10, 11 feet long.
It was tremendous. Muzzin back to get it. Played over to Brown. Here's Andrzej Kopitar. Hard to believe he has not scored in 25 games coming into tonight's action, all the way back to last year's regular season. Williams to Kopitar. He finds Regier. Robin Regier shot wide. That one bounces straight up. Giordano takes it away from Dustin Brown. Finds Stempniak. Colburn in quietly on the other side. Gets the pass, but I think he was offside. Flames and Kings are scoreless here in Los Angeles. It's TELUS Flames Hockey.
Dennis Weidman really has taken on a more mature kind of role where he's leading everybody in ice time. 28:07 average ice time. You can see where he ranks with Mark Giordano, TJ Brodie down at 23, Chris Russell, the top four guys, and overall second most in the National Hockey League, right behind Ryan Suter of the Minnesota Wild. So Weidman has been doing it all over the ice, and when he first came here, they're looking for that offense coming from the blue line as far as power plays. That was going to be especially, but now you're seeing him in all three occasions of the even strength. Of course, he's going to put in a lot of time along with his partner, Chris Russell. But power play time, yes, he's going to be out there. But more importantly, I really like the way he has developed into a very solid penalty killer, as we've seen earlier tonight. Very aggressive, protecting his net.
Jay Hoodler and Dan Carcillo exchanging pleasantries off the face-off circle. That's not the first time. And Carcillo comes over and just wipes out Hoodler. Referee looked right at it. Billy Sutherland said, play on.
Well, he was pointing to his shoulder at the hit.
Kings have it. Here's Carcillo. Shot. Ramo steers it away. Fratton in the corner. Been in the doghouse of Daryl Sutter, Matt Fratton has. Just came over in the trade this summer that saw Jonathan Bernier go to Toronto. Ben Scrivens, now the backup goalie here in LA. Matt Fratton also in that deal. Chris Russell to Monahan. Nice tap pass. Berchi trying to get it to Hoodler, but quick, reached up, and now Hoodler and Carcillo go to the boards. And I'm not so sure, Charlie, that a year ago we would have seen Yuri Hoodler play much mind to any of this. He probably just would have skated away, but he's been involved.
Well, he gets involved. He's standing up for his turf. He was getting slashed earlier by Carcillo, and there's the shot that the referee was looking at and saying it was with his shoulder. But yes, get involved as a team. You play a team toughness a lot better than you can do individual toughness.
And Carcillo known a little bit more for that than Yuri Hoodler is, but Hoodler's fine. As Michael Backlund steps in to take the draw.
And Rob, that's important, especially when you're on a road, in a road game too, in the other team's building.
Well, and especially when you're playing the LA Kings, because the Kings will try and intimidate you.
Well, and rightly so. They use their size. That's how they won the Stanley Cup 2 years ago.
That first-round playoff series last year between the Kings and the St. Louis Blues was one for the ages. One of the most physical hockey series I think I've ever seen. Flames controlling it deep. Glenn Cross in front, and that one's knocked down. Nice defensive play by Drew Doughty. Now Williams getting physical with the captain of the Flames, Giordano. Here's Dustin Brown. You know he wants to throw a hit, but Stempniak hits him, and that's going to be a penalty. An interference call against Lee Stempniak.
The 2013 World Series gets underway Wednesday night on our main Sportsnet channel as the St. Louis Cardinals visit the Boston Red Sox at Fenway Park. It's underway at 5 p.m. Mountain. It should be a great series between two of baseball's traditional franchises.
We just got over talking about all the physical play that's been happening here, and Lee Stempniak will end up with an interference call. And with all the hitting and all the ways that the LA Kings will play, that's where you try to help out your defensemen and get caught for an interference call.
Second power play of the game for the Kings. Carter in the middle. That one's blocked by Lance Boma. Now Drew Doughty. Back up top, Boyanov. Kopitar. Richards back to Kopitar. He hangs on. Back to Richards, and he swings it through the blue paint. It comes back to Drew Doughty. He's working it around very well. Carter in the corner. Options, one of them's Doughty, but he has some bodies in front of him, and most importantly, it was Richards, so he couldn't get the shot through. Giordano pokes the puck away, but Richards is there to get it back for LA behind the net. Carter out in front, Kopitar, and that one is blocked by Dennis Wideman. Had it in his glove.
Well, earlier in this period, you saw the Flames very strong on the face-offs and that first penalty kill. This time they don't win it, and it's really to the point where you have to turn around and chase for a good minute.
Boyanov dumping it in. Russell off the glass. It takes a Flames bounce right to TJ Gagliardi, and he'll dump it down, and Quick comes out to stop it. Calgary back at it tomorrow night in Phoenix. We'll have that one for you. Part of the doubleheader on Sportsnet West. As the puck goes up in the mesh, and the face-off will be in the Calgary end as the referee points back down to that circle.
Goaltender so important on the penalty kill, and you'd mentioned too, Kerry Ramo, not a type of goaltender that leaves his crease very often, and that's something that really he can develop as the season goes on with more playing time, more confidence, and that way you're able to help out your defensemen.
Ajay Kopitar Wins the draw. Puck back to the point. Doughty push, but he gets it to Muzzin. Back to Doughty. Doughty to Kopitar, looking for a lane, and the puck goes off the referee. Muzzin drops it for Justin Williams. 2 Flames on him, but he moves the puck quickly. Back to Doughty with room. Scores! Drew Doughty, 1-0 LA.
Too much time in the defensive zone. First shot, good play there by the Flames to redirect. Now they try to get very aggressive on the play, and that just opens up the ice a lot more. Dustin Brown finds Doughty sneaking in from the point. One little fake shot, moves to the center, pulled, snap, drag, with Kopitar standing in front of the net, and Ramo no chance on that. But again, it boils down to the small battles like winning faceoffs on a penalty kill.
So the Flames, in the last 4 periods, have given up 4 power play goals on 11 power plays. As the Kings jump out to a 1-0 lead. Flames had surrendered 2-0 first period leads both in San Jose and Anaheim. Puck comes back out in front, but it comes to King.
In the first period.
LA, a little surge.
Los Angeles goal.
Lewis, back to King. It's intercepted by Hoodler. Berchi finds Monahan. Giordano joining Monahan, and the 19-year-old will just dump it in for Calgary. It's picked up. Hoodler behind the net. Glenn Cross after it. Glenn Cross battling with Doughty. Weidman won't be able to hold it in. Sneaking over to pick it up is Chris Russell. So Doughty's second of the year from Brown and Justin Williams. Third of the year, I should say. Second power play goal. Brown and Williams at 18:36. And Calgary down by a goal here late in the first. This will do it as Robin Revere has it in his own end. Just over 5 seconds to go. Pretty good first period with the Flames down after 20. Not where they want to be on the road, taking on this Kings team. So Calgary trailing LA 1-0 after 20 minutes of play.
Kraus getting set for the start of the period number 2. Flames trailing by 1 for the call of the second period. Here's Rob Kraus.
Well, no offense from the Calgary Flames in period 1. As a matter of fact, there was just 1 goal.
Drew Doughty on the power play. It's his second goal in as many games. His third of the season. As you mentioned, second power play goal from Brown and Williams. 30 total hits recorded here in the first period. LA a bigger, stronger team, but the Flames stayed right with them hit for hit. McGrath with 2. Sven Berchi with 2 hits in that first period. Of course, Rob McGear with 4 in Los Angeles, which you expect kind of that one. We didn't expect was a young man named Pratt, and they gave him credit for 4 hits. And that's really a tough stat to really try and decide if it was a physical hit or it was a way of getting in front of a body. And you see it vary from building to building.
Well, make no bones about it. This is a measuring stick game for the Calgary Flames. As Kopitar goes to the net, and Ramo with a big save early here in the second period. Flames have shown resiliency on this 5-game swing as they've lost the first 2, but they keep coming back. And Holborn tries to come back right there, and he's stopped by Quick. As the Flames don't really want to be giving up the second and third goal to LA here without scoring a few of their own. Pile up behind the net. Taking it away from Robin Regeer in front, and Camilleri was there, but it bounces right to Anze Kopitar. He avoids the check as Weidman is really starting to use that hip check. It's in his arsenal almost every game. Berchi bouncing it ahead off of Monahan's stick. It's picked up. Willie Mitchell, time member, the Vancouver Canucks. Richards brings it across the line. He'll protect. In front, it comes back to the point. Slavovoyanov back to Richards, and Hoodler intercepts. Berchi steps up across the Kings blue line. Hoodler backhands it wide of the net, and Carter has it. Out to center. King looking for it. Brody. Giordano. Fight off Carter in the play. comes back to the point. Boyanov is there, but some good work by Sven Baertschi comes up with it. Hits Monahan with a pass. He didn't see it. Boyanov will be able to play it right back in.
That's important for young players like Sven Baertschi, Monahan, to stay with the play. A lot of times you will lose that first opportunity to get that puck out, but you stay with it instead of going for the big skate, and we're able to clear the puck just like he did.
Jake Galiardi tying up Matt Green. Puck comes to Colin Fraser. Here come the Kings across the line. It's taken away. Nice defensive play as Kyle Clifford had the puck stripped off his stick. Now a penalty coming up. And it looks like the Flames will get their first man advantage as the extra attacker coming out. Shot in the slot, and O'Brien, his best scoring chance of the season, dare I say. But Calgary will go to their first power play of the game.
But a big save by Rameau in that first shift as Kopitar with a nice move to the front of the net. Brown gets the rebound, but the Flames stay with it. This is where I talked about staying with the defensive play. Nice play there as Camilleri gets it over to Stepniak, gets it back. Coburn drives hard to the net. Good heads-up play by the lanky centerman and forces Quick into the big save.
Los Angeles penalty number 13,
So Kyle Clifford cooling his heels for holding. Calgary will go out with the power play the first time in this game. They were 1 for 6 Saturday in San Jose. The Kings have been very stingy on the penalty kills. Matter of fact, they killed off the last 14 penalty kills they have seen. And again, face-offs. The Kings win one and they kill some time off the clock.
I'd like to see how much time it will take for the Flames to get set up once you lose that face-off. 20 seconds to get it back into the offense.
Woodler's pass to Monahan, but the youngster couldn't quite negotiate it. The Kings get it back out. Here's Giordano. Drops it. Woodler has Giordano taken heavily into the boards. They score! Didn't matter as Mike Camilleri's presence is felt, and the Flames tie it 1-1.
Huge hit against Mark Giordano, who made the play to get it inside. Right here as they move it across the ice, they gain possession in the offensive zone, and there's that hit that Giordano thought might be a little bit late. Hoodler gets it to Mike Camilleri, and he parks it right where he usually sits on the power play off wing, one-timer. Almost down to one knee at that point. The Flames have it tied up on a great individual effort by Giordano to take the big hit.
Charlie, last year Mike Camilleri led the Calgary Flames in power play scoring. He had 5 power play goals, but he had 15 total points. I think they missed him in the first 7 games, particularly on the power play, and he cashes in. So Calgary tying this up at 1. Yuri Hoodler and Mark Giordano getting the assist as Carter trying to go back to the point. Butler intercepts it. And just one last note on that goal. That's the epitome of taking the hit to make the play on the part of Mark Giordano.
He wasn't really happy about that either. It looked a little bit late in his eyes.
Puck's brought in offside. And Yuri Hoodler with the assist, now points in 8 consecutive games to start the season. And he made a nice pass to find Mike Camilleri.
Well, you stay with it and you battle away. He'll be tied with a couple other players at 8 consecutive games. The hit had already happened at that point. There's that one-timer all the way across. Mike Camilleri gets himself in the position, gets that weight right over the puck as it's coming at him, and he has that perfect timing to make the shot.
Well, he and Lee Stempniak last year tied for the scoring lead with 32 points for the Flames. So not to underscore the importance of having him back in the lineup, and he gets his club back in it. Calgary now buzzing. Just like when the Kings scored their goal in the first period, they came back with a couple of strong shifts. That seems to be the MO here for the Flames. Cody going to get it by Andrzej Kopitar. Backlund tip it out, but he'll get a second crack at it. Jay Galiardi takes a bump, going off, bounces off Galiardi. Mitchell, pestered, gets it to Williams. To Mitchell, cross ice, here's Brown. Dustin Brown, shot goes off a skate in behind Kari Ramo. Glenn Cross. Back to the play, turns in on the puck. Weidman there to offer some advice. Kopitar there too. Comes free and Backlund pushes ahead. Crosses behind Galiardi. Backlund shot goes off a skate, bounces to the side of the net. And Quick will jump on it. With the goal from Mike Camilleri, and on behalf of the Safeway Score and Win contest and Kraft Peanut Butter, Tim Betcher of Medicine Hat has won a Garmin Newbie 2597 LMT GTS.
Michael Backlund coming through the neutral ice zone, trying to use the defenseman of the LA Kings as a screen. Willie Mitchell gets that stick on it, goes up over onto the glass and bounces back against the grain. And Backlund almost had an opportunity to rebound.
Chris Russell finds Yuri Hudler. Hudler cross ice looking for Sven Berchi. Monahan is there. He loses the puck. It's picked up. Jared Stoll going across the line. He'll drop it. Pitchfork to the front of the net. Dennis Weidman waiting on it. Play it off the glass, but Stoll gets there first. Now Carcillo turning around. His shot bounces off of Flames defenseman Russell and comes back to the red line. Funny hop behind the net. Kari Rammel though, unfazed. Russell to Hudler. Now points in 8 consecutive games to start this season. It's been a strong start for number 24 this year.
He's tied Sidney Crosby and Patrick Marleau for 8 points in 8 consecutive games.
Blocker of Rommel. Behind the net, Trevor Lewis. Puck comes back to the point. Regeer's shot is turned away. Lewis, top of the circle, shoots off some bodies. Shane O'Brien spinning away from Clifford, knocked down by Clifford. Berchi comes up with the puck. He'll get it to Butler. Pinching in, Drew Doughty. Battling with Chris Butler. Berchi is there. Sven Berchi, very strong in his own end here on this shift. And the Flames away with it. Colborne dumps it into the corner behind the net. Stepniak, he'll take the hit from Doughty. Colborne out in front looking for Camilleri, but it's kicked away. And Giordano back into his own end. Mike Camilleri springs Stepniak in alone. Stepniak stopped by Quick out in front. Quick with another save on Colborne. As Jonathan Quick showing you why he has been one of the premier netminders in this game in the last couple of seasons. Calgary tying the game here in the second and now have come back with a couple of terrific opportunities, but number 32 in black just a hair better on these chances.
Lee Stepniak doing a great job of at least getting a good scoring opportunity. 2 quick outlet passes, a give and go. Here comes Stepniak. Moynihan forces him to the backhand right there, and that allowed Quick to get that poke check out and knock the puck away. But then you see Colborne right where he's supposed to be. Drive hard to the front of the net, get yourself in a good position, pick up a rebound, and that's where Quick slammed the pads together and took another good scoring opportunity away from the Flames.
Flames win a draw in the offensive zone. Chris Russell has it towards the net over the shoulder of Quick. And Weidman unable to keep it in at the other side. They flip it through the air. And actually through the air, over the glass, and into the crowd.
This perfectly preserved uniform came to us via a generous donation from our champion's wife.
Pick your winners today with Pools.
We'd like to remind you that Safeway's featured participating product for tonight's game is Kraft Peanut Butter.
Some Flames fans in attendance. Now, they didn't get the bonus that a Kings fan just got. Not only did Weidman fire it over the glass, Charlie, it landed in a dude's beer mug. He had a beer and a puck in his mug.
Well, that's bad luck right there, the cost of beers in this building.
Absolutely. Flames tying this game up here in the second period and starting to push it a little bit on the Kings. Shots 11-9 here in period number 2 overall.
So we're looking at like a $6.50 puck in a $14 beer.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's.
And now I don't
a bad
think you're,
trade-off
and it's half full, so I don't think you're finishing the beer.
No, I wouldn't think.
I mean, you would,
finish it.
but
no, I don't think they would.
I don't know.
A glass of red wine I
Well,
might finish, but
fair enough. Fair enough.
Seeing this pushback by the Flames, which we've been pleasantly getting used to the way this season has been going.
Weidman shot. Caroms off a player. Hustling over is Mark Giordano. He'll keep it alive for the Flames. Pushed on the play by Justin Williams. Gets a little help from Kopitar. Ajay Kopitar, 3 assists in the win over the Dallas Stars on Saturday night, 5-2. The Kings beat Dallas. The Flames will see Dallas on Thursday as they finish off this 5-game road trip. Kopitar into Calgary territory, but a nice play by Gagliardi, knocking the puck off his stick.
Back pressure by Gagliardi, and that's that skating ability of the Flames. Ken Larry was talking about it to Roger Millions in between periods, having that time to sit back and watch the way the team has been playing.
Physical work there by Matt Fratton. Puck stolen. One stop by Ramo, and Giordano with a nice defensive play as Michael Backlund just had the puck literally physically muscled away from him. Now out in front, Ramo, big save, and another save. Puck bounces at the side of the net. Carcillo can't come up with it. And Fratton whiffs on that opportunity as Matt Fratton, who did not play against Dallas, who has been in the doghouse, has certainly come out with his A game in this one against Calgary.
I think a little whisper from head coach Daryl Sutter about playing physical style had to be part of it with 4 hits in that first period.
Drew Doughty has the goal for the Kings tonight. He's cruising around like a shark and found Stoll, but the pass by him. Carcillo behind the net. Weidman comes out to pressure him. Into the slot, Muzzin, and it's blocked by Giordano. And the whistle goes, and I think we've got a penalty coming up. Kari Ramo's been a busy guy in the last 30 seconds.
Coming up with some big saves, a little bit of pushback by the LA Kings. There's Fratton's play right there, causing that turnover, and that forces the Flames really to scramble. Another second and third save right there. So what happens here is the Flames get caught too long defensively. They're tired out there. They have to scramble, and then they pull a penalty out of it. Sven Baertschi will spend the next 2 minutes, hopefully, in the penalty box for slashing.
In his last shift, I thought Baertschi was really strong in his own end. This shift, Flames get caught running around, and the Kings go to the power play for the 3rd time in this game. They're 1 for 2. They win the draw. They have the puck, and here's the goal scorer, Doughty. His pass goes off a skate. Williams picks it up, pressured by a pair of Flames, and Ben Street will dump it down the ice. Quick out to play it as Calgary will take this advantage and change up their forwards. Doughty to Williams, behind the defender. Williams in alone, stopped by Kerry Ramo. Oh, what a save by Ramo.
Well, on the back end with some good speed by Williams, he tries to get to the forehand and get it between the pads of Ramo. He wasn't going for that, threw that poke check out and made the save.
Kari Ramo has picked up from where he was on Saturday. He was terrific against the Sharks, but even better here tonight against the LA Kings so far, and the Flames need it as they're killing off another Kings power play, their 3rd of this game. Here's Matt Fratton across the line, and that one is off Giordano. Another block shot for Mark Giordano, and that one seemed to sting the Flame captain.
Quick outlet pass right here. Drew Doughty finding Williams. And there you can see going to the backhand, trying to stuff it in between the pads. As he moves to get those legs open, Ramo really closes by keeping that paddle of the stick down on the ice. Speed through the neutral ice. Speed and size, that has been the key to the success of the LA Kings over the last couple of years, but Kari Ramo that time made sure that he held his ground.
Puck's one off the draw by the Kings. They control. Willie Mitchell's shot hits a skate. That's Boma after it. Slavogoyanov intercepted by Boma, and this one's dumped down the ice. 45 seconds to go in the man advantage for the Kings. TJ Gagliardi out there with Ben Street up front. Giordano Weidman are the defenders for Calgary, and the puck brought in offside. A lot of block shots in this game, Charlie, but that really shouldn't come as a surprise, should it?
Flames trying to do whatever they can to keep the puck out of their zone, out of their net, I should say, and part of it is block shots. 131 for the Flames, trailing the Vancouver Canucks this season at 150, Oilers at 142. And unfortunately, a lot of times the shot blocking will be a lot higher if you're spending a little bit more time in your defensive zone. But you're seeing the commitment of the players to buy into that system and stay with it.
Talk about an immediate impact from the new coach with the Vancouver Canucks leading that charge. There's John Tortorella. We all know what he's about defensively. Puck comes back to the point. Muzzin in traffic. Wow, what a shot from Jake Muzzin. And over top of the net, Flames dodge a bullet there.
That's confidence from a defenseman that they know that they're going to be a forward in front of the opposing team's goaltender, and you can get that wrist shot off in a hurry.
Just one shot on that power play for the LA Kings. They are 1 for 3 tonight. Flames get it in front. Oh, Hudler in tight. It comes back out the same side. Quick bit. Went the wrong direction, but Calgary couldn't make a connection. Jiri Hudler continues his strong offensive play. Monahan finds Hudler, who finds Russell. Russell on a small, modest 2-game point streak, 2 assists on this road trip. Willie Mitchell. Monahan cruising.
His big part of his game is the skating. When he's skating, he's going to get himself in position.
Shot wide of the net as the Kings now beginning to skate maybe a little too freely in the Flame zone. And will pick up the puck. It comes back to the blue line, but it's grabbed by Stoll. Kings in front. What a save by Ramo! Oh, he topped his previous stop here in the second period. That was pure reaction right there, and Calgary dodge another bullet. TJ Brodie falls on his man on the boards. Now Camilleri will get it out. He has the lone goal for Calgary in this one. His first of the season. He missed the first 7 games. Gets back in against his former club tonight and has found the back of the net. And O'Brien shot off a couple of bodies. Stepping in, pushes Regier from the puck. Joe Colborne coming out in front. Can't get the shot through. Harry Ramo. Oh, that's 2 brilliant saves here in the second period. I'm sorry, I think I'll go back to that. That was a terrific stop he just made.
Larchuk really happy the way he has been playing hockey to him this morning, and really likes his attitude. And I think a lot of times that's the way he plays between the pipes, very loose, very relaxed.
There's Butler looking to get it to Colborne, and it goes in on quick, and he will freeze it. Flames getting a little good offense, or getting a little good defense. How about Jiri Hudler? A little magic in around the goal, didn't quite work, but it worked down here for Kari Ramo. 1-1 in the second period.
Doubleheader action on Sportsnet West tomorrow night, beginning with Edmonton at the Montreal Canadiens as the Oilers finish off their 6-game road trip, 5 o'clock Mountain Time. Then we switch to the desert as the Calgary Flames visit the Phoenix Coyotes. Calgary's 3rd game in 4 nights gets underway 8 p.m. Mountain Time. Great doubleheader hockey action on Sportsnet West tomorrow night.
Quite honestly, you can just take the batteries out of the remote. You don't need to change the channel for the next couple of days. Take a look at Kari Ramo, who has had a terrific game, but in particular a terrific second period. 1-1 Flames and Kings. First of 5 meetings between these teams. Now divisional foes, as they both play in the Pacific Division. This is the first time this season that the Kings have played a divisional foe. And a penalty coming up.
Pro Hockey Life, the ultimate hockey megastore.
Los Angeles penalty, number 8, 2 minutes for holding.
Earl Sutter's not going to like this one, especially from his all-star defenseman. Doughty knew he was guilty right away. He reaches right in there, dropped the stick just so... No, I didn't do anything. But the referee gets a hold of him very quickly, and so get their second opportunity on the power play.
Mike Camilleri scoring on the first opportunity. And that snapped a string of, I think it was 14 consecutive power plays killed off by the LA Kings. One of the better penalty kills in the National Hockey League this season. 3rd best coming into this game. Camilleri dances across the line. Back to the point. Weidman is there. Quickly to Giordano. Back to Weidman. Shot in traffic. Quick saw it all the way, and he'll hang on. Sean Monahan again trying to play in all situations, including power play, and when you do that, your ice time grows.
Yeah, and your learning experience grows very quickly. On-the-job training, averaging the last 4 games about 15 and a half minutes of ice time. Of course, when you look at the guy with 5 goals in the season, you want to make sure he's out there on the power play.
10 minutes and 15 seconds of ice time already for Sean Monahan in this game. Now the puck intercepted, King away with it. Over to Anze Kopitar. Daryl Sutter likes to use a lot of players killing penalties. In that game against Dallas, I believe he used 14 different players on his penalty kill.
He likes to use a lot of his players at all times, really rotating all 4 lines and 3 sets of defensemen.
Here's Jiri Hudler to Camilleri. Weidman to Giordano. Cross ice, couple of sticks in the way. It skips to Hudler and finds Giordano. Side of the net. They score! Monahan 2-1 Calgary.
Great puck movement by a power play. And against the penalty killing unit, as you mentioned, they've been very aggressive lately. And this is just not a lot of holding on to that puck. Right here, the Flames with some momentum through the neutral ice zone. Camilleri gets things set up. Right here, the pass is redirected and deflected, but the Flames settle down very quickly. And there's those quick passes as it goes across to Camilleri. He's trying to step out in front of the net right there. Bounces off a stick, but the youngster, as we mentioned, having a nose to go to the area where you're going to be successful, uses his size to stay in that low crease area and redirected in behind quick.
So that's his 6th goal of the season, his 2nd power play goal of the season. He's 8 games into his NHL career. I think he's safe. I really think, Charlie, that this kid's okay. How about you?
More important thing I like to see is the little things that he's been doing. We saw his ice time climb up to 15.5, 16. So this is just something that you're looking at confidence that the coach can put him into situations like this.
TJ Brody behind the net, looking for Russell. He's knocked down on the play. Now Robin Regeer, as the Kings trying to answer back quickly. They won't get a chance, as we've got a penalty coming up, and it looks like it's going to go against Dan Carcillo. So the Flames, who are 2 for 2 with the power play, are going right back out to the man advantage.
So it looks like it's going to be a cross check as he is trying to have his position in front of the net.
19-year-old Sean Monahan continues to tear it up. Calgary up 2-1 going to the power play when we come back.
And Carcillo in the penalty box. He's unhappy. He should be unhappy with himself for lack of discipline. As the Kings have an opportunity in the offensive zone. They fly it around the boards, out to the point. Now look and listen. As he cross-checked Chris Russell right in the number 4, sent him down. The whistle clearly went before the shot went at the net. In fact, Ramo heard it and he just stood straight up.
Flames are 2 for 2 with the man advantage here in the 2nd period. That accounts for the goal scoring in this game. Mike Camilleri, by the way, has made quite an impact in his return to the lineup. As he's taking the draw right now, he has a goal and an assist. And Mark Giordano has picked up a pair of helpers in this game.
2 minutes for checking.
From the Kings. From Lewis, long shot. Rommel going to play it. Giordano is there. Jiri Hudler. He extended his point scoring streak to 8 games with an assist on Mike Camilleri's goal early in this period. Green turns around and nothing but real estate. He'll fire it down the ice.
This is where the Flames really have to put the foot to the pedal right here. Take an opportunity on the power play, especially when he started to build up a little bit of momentum on the power play.
First time Calgary's had a lead in this road trip. Curtis Glencroft shielding the puck from his former teammate Robin Regeer. Comes back to the point. Giordano quickly to Weidman. His shot! Oh, that one whistled to the side of the net. Quick watching. And the Flames, some quick stick movement. Able to beat Jonathan Quick. That puck went outside, no doubt about it. Now with the Sean Monahan goal, that gives us our next score and win winner, courtesy of Safeway and Kraft Peanut Butter. It's Pauline's River of Airdrie, who's won a Hoover Wind Tunnel multi-cyclonic bagless canister.
Whistle before the goal was scored. I'm going to make a mention of Monahan not really getting deep enough down in front of the goaltender Quick for a screenshot. That time, when he scored the goal, he was right down the top of the circle.
Russell gains the line. 50 seconds to go. To add to their 2-1 lead. Stempniak behind the net gets it back to Russell. Russell tight quarters. Shares it. Stempniak is there. It's kicked away from Glencross. Now Willie Mitchell. Checked by Glencross. We'll come back to the point. Russell is there. TJ Brody's the other point man. Just gets to Russell. Just gets to Brody. His shot stopped by Quick. Now it's chipped out by the LA Kings. 15 seconds to go in the penalty to Carcillo. Shot 17-13 in favor of Los Angeles. The Flames with 9 shots here in the second period. Carcillo standing up. He's out of the box, and the Kings now attacking with numbers. Carcillo ahead to Carter. Richards in front. It's taken away by Weidman. Berchi is there. Berchi takes down Robin Regehr, and for the second time in this period, Sven Berchi's... No.
I think it's going to go against Robin Regehr.
44 Los Angeles Minor.
Canadian Pacific Goals for Kids is proudly sponsored by Canadian Pacific and its 2,700 railroaders based in Calgary. For every Flames goal this season, the Railway will donate $250 to Kidsport and the Flames Even Strength program. Keep scoring, Flames. It helps CP build stronger kids and stronger communities.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, just when you think you know it all, you're proven wrong yet again. It's Robin Regehr who gets the penalty.
Well, Sven Berchi was able to chip it by him, at least partway by him, got position on him, and that's when the stick of Regehr came in with a little bit of the old-fashioned corkscrew.
And for the fourth time here in this second period, Calgary go to the man advantage, and Daryl Sutter was in kind of an ornery mood today. He was talking about his team and the fact that they had to play so many games. This is their 10th game in 19 days, and they played the fewest home games. And Daryl doesn't say things by accident. Actually, the Kings now have played more home games than the Calgary Flames, but he was in one of those ornery moods that Daryl gets in.
Well, trying to keep his team motivated, get them playing, and much like he must have done with Stratton.
They score! Short-handed marker! And this game is tied at 2.
Just a case of having big bodies driving hard at the net. As Carter was coming down the right wing, threw it at the net. He knew Richards was going at the net. I'm not sure if it caught Richards' stick or it caught Weidman, who had to try and take him out of the play. But it did get redirected right at the top of the crease.
Now the LA Kings pick up their second shorthanded goal of the season. It's the first shorthanded goal that the Calgary Flames have surrendered. And we're back tied at 2.
A short-handed goal.
Erie Hoodler.
His first of the season.
Behind the net.
Scored by number 10.
Long lead pass as Monahan was waiting at the Kings blue line, but it was taken away and dumped back into the Flames' end. So Richards gets credit for his first of the year, and his former teammate in Philadelphia, now with him here in LA, Jeff Carter getting the assist. And here in the second period, all of the offense coming off Flames power play.
Richards just driving hard to the net, getting that stick on the ice. Poor Weidman could get that stick back at him, and that's where you really have to be strong on the opposing team's players driving at your net.
So Richards and Carter are back out there for the LA Kings. And Calgary with just 40 seconds to go here in their fourth power play. Flames look a little bit discombobulated after giving up that shorthanded marker. Let's see if they can straighten things out. The Kings get the puck and they'll dump it to the line. Brody keeps it in. Colborn behind the net. Stempniak. Colborn is there, but it's played away from him. Brody comes over, gets to it first, and he's hit by Carter. Now Carter breaks his stick going after TJ Brody. And he's complaining on the way off the ice as the LA Kings back in this hockey game. Colborn, cross-ice pass. Return pass from Glencross looking for Stempniak was intercepted. Flames with no shots on the power plays. Regehr's back out there. And the Kings score a short-handed marker to tie it. Here's Kopitar. To King, back to Kopitar. Shoots off the post. Rebound, that one's wide. Oh, the Flames had better find an answer quick because the Kings are feeling it. Kopitar up top, and it bounces away from Justin Williams. Williams trying to go wide on Brody, who's been out there for a while. Monahan reaches for it, but it's chopped up and into the Kings bench. As Kari Ramo saw a lot of that man in his face.
Kings coming out of their zone very quickly as Robin Regehr had stepped back on the ice, set up a momentary 3-on-2. They send it wide. Good heads-up play, and there's the look from Kopitar. As Ramo had a very good angle on that one, went off the back of the post, back out the other side, and that was the push that Los Angeles was trying to build up some momentum. And again, this is late in the period, much like it was in the first period, where they ended up getting that early 1-0 lead.
Back and forth we go here at the Staples Center. Matt Fratton, watched by Backlund. Fratton turns around, and that one's blocked off by Giordano. Calgary get it out. Gagliardi to Hoodler. He'll lay it in. TJ Gagliardi working on Doughty. They bump in the corner. Gagliardi, one hand on the stick, gets it back to Michael Backlund. TJ Gagliardi to Wideman, and hit his teammate in the back. It skips to the corner. Regehr is there. Gagliardi knocked down. Giordano with it. A little bit of everything here in the second period. Flames with a couple of power play goals. The Kings answer back with a shorthanded goal. Kari Ramos made some stupendous saves. Jonathan Quickston, no slouch. Backlund plays it to Quick, and he's going to smother it with 8.1 seconds to go in period number 2.
Big push as far as physical play by LA. And that's something that the Flames have had to battle back, and they have to really use their speed, which they have most of this second period, to get some scoring opportunities. A good look at Fratton, who has been in the doghouse of Daryl Sutter, and Jonathan Quick much healthier this year. After winning the Stanley Cup, went through some back surgery. Fortunately for him, that shortened season last year really helped him, but not to the form that he had when he won the Cup.
Willie Mitchell tied up in the corner in his own end, and now we might have a fight. Stempniak and Willie Mitchell. This isn't the fisticuffs one would expect, and Mitchell on top of a much smaller Lee Stempniak.
Well, this is what you don't like to see, because you throw the body, as Lee Stempniak. What are you doing? You throw the hit, I throw a good hit, and now you want to fight? And that's just part of the game, is the hitting. And Lee Stempniak's not afraid to throw his weight around.
Well, Jeff Merrick, the Calgary Flames have all bought in. They know how they have to play if they want to beat these LA Kings. Terrific second period. We send it back to you in the Hockey Central panel. Take a look at Staples Center, LA Live in Los Angeles, California. What a hockey game we have for you through 40 minutes of play as we take a look at the scoring summaries brought to you by Panago Pizza. Before, during, or after the game, get a fresh Panago.
Specialty teams, very important tonight. Drew Doughty on the power play. Camilleri Monahan on the power play. Jeff Carter now gets credit for that shorthanded goal. That's his 5th of the year. So lots of excitement around the puck. Here's that opening goal by Drew Doughty. Good snapshot through a screen as Kopitar is in front of the goaltender Ramo. And right here, take the hit to make the play. Hoodler over to Camilleri for the quick one-timer. How many times have we seen that? Another quick passing play here by the Flames as Camilleri gets to the front. Monahan going down low to the blue paint to pick up the rebound, and here's the redirected shot, unfortunately going off the stick of Dennis Wideman as he was able to tie up the stick of Mike Richards. And we end up going into the third period 2-2.
Well, something's got to give, because so far this season the Calgary Flames are 2-0-0 when tied after 40 minutes of play, and the LA Kings are 3-0-0 when tied after 40 minutes of play. So somebody's going to get a blemish, and somebody's going to keep that streak going. What a hockey game. A little bit of everything. It's been the physical test that we expected for the Flames. The LA Kings always play you tough. But Calgary bouncing back, showing that resiliency that people are talking about league-wide. Held a lead in the second period, but the LA Kings, they know their way around this rink, and Richards with it now. Shot off the shoulder of Ramo into the mesh.
Really? Better than Sidney Crosby? We'll find out why scouts say Connor McDavid is the best prospect in a generation. Subscribe to Sportsnet Magazine at sportsnet.ca/magazine.
Boy, get ready for that kid. We're going to hear an awful lot about Connor McDavid in the years to come leading up to his draft. And those two gentlemen in enemy territory tonight, here to support their club on the road. Gary Ramo doing his best to support his club tonight. Flames getting dominated in the face-off circle by Los Angeles. And another draw that the Kings gain possession off of. Shot blocked. Bill Colborne. He has certainly come into his own on this road trip for Calgary. Stempniak is out there, so no fighting penalties, no penalties at all for Stempniak or Willie Mitchell at the end of the second period. Up to the side of the net, Stempniak looking for it, and Quick had to make a save. And Mike Camilleri, he's been a going concern, returning to the lineup after missing the first 7 games, has a goal and an assist. And down is Brown. Fans calling for a penalty. Nobody's arm is in the air at this point, as it looked like Brown got a stick up high.
I think Camilleri was in very aggressive when you're battling a guy like Brown too. You get that stick moving. Caught a piece of his shoulder. Wasn't anything serious other than maybe Brown was looking to try and get that call in his advantage.
And the puck brought in offside.
Well, Lee Stempniak has been very good around that puck. He gets knocked down at this point, hooks it back in behind the net to Camilleri, and gets a good chance as that puck bounces down in front. And here's the play we were talking about. Camilleri coming across. Get that stick up into the shoulder area.
Well, by the looks of that video, something was missed. You saw Mike Camilleri going over and even checking on Dustin Brown.
He missed the stick of Brown, and it caught him up in that shoulder area.
Flames hemmed in their own end, and it's turned around, shot wide. Trevor Lewis. First person ever from Utah to win a Stanley Cup is Trevor Lewis. Comes over top of the net. Hit off a skip. Yuri Hudler gets the puck ahead. Here's Sven Baertschi with Sean Monahan. Baertschi across the line. Holds up. And he found Hudler, but the puck bounced on Hudler, and it comes right back out in front of the crease. Jared Stoll is there. And Stoll outlets to Willie Mitchell. Great opportunity for Yuri Hudler, but the puck just wouldn't sit. Hudler has run his point streak to start the season to 8 games. He picked up an assist on Mike Camilleri's power play goal in the second period. There's Michael Backlund. Ahead to TJ Galliardi with Curtis Glencross. He has the puck. Glencross shot goes off a body. That's Regier. And the former Flame, watch behind the net, plays it off the glass. Waiting for it is Weidman. Chops it. Hit out of the air by Glencross, but it went wide. Chris Russell trying to pinch in on the play. No icing as Weidman comes back to get it. Colin Fraser in, watches Weidman, but Dennis Weidman would play it ahead. TJ Galliardi loses control of it. King bounces off a check from Colborne. Takes it in behind the Flames net. Stops up, shoots. Lots of traffic at the side of Ramo's net. To Jake Muzzin. His pass. As Camilleri tried to poke it away. Moved up on a stick, and King now to Carter. Carter, who's been credited with that shorthanded marker to tie the game in the second period. It was originally given to Richards. Shot in traffic. Ramo with the save, and he gets some help there for Mark Giordano, who's having a whale of a game, let alone 2 assists, but a ton of blocked shots and some great defensive play by the Flames captain.
Thought he was going to be playing about 30 minutes tonight. 9.5 minutes that first period. He was cut back to about 5.5 in the second by Coach Hartley.
Giordano in the corner. Up comes to Dustin Brown out in front, but it skips on Williams. And Hudler is there. Calgary spending an awful lot of the start of this third period defending. Like to change that paradigm if they can. Here's Hudler. He can do it. Across the line, shoots that one just wide. And it goes up and into the mesh.
This is a replica of the remote that inspired the big win. The original was tragically lost in a couch.
Pick your winners today with Pools.
UEFA Champions League soccer action continues tomorrow, 12:30 p.m. Mountain on all Sportsnet channels with 4 matches. Featured on Sportsnet West, Barcelona visiting AC Milan, Borussia Dortmund will travel to Arsenal on Sportsnet World.
Rare shift for Calgary's fourth line. Bob Hartley sending out Ben Street, Brian McGrattan, and Lance Boma.
Trying to settle down a little bit of the physical push that the LA Kings are throwing on.
Ben Street shot into the glove of Jonathan Quick. Street has been a very versatile player for Bob Hartley. Minutes have been up at the beginning of the year, not so much lately. Take a look at this draw.
Lots of pushing, lots of tight action, physical play off the face-off. You win the face-off, get a good shot at net. Now you progress down into the offensive zone, and Bob Hartley's able to leave that fourth line, the aggressive line, out there to try and make and change a little bit of the physical momentum around.
Take a look at the disparity in face-off victories tonight between the two clubs, and that haunted the Calgary Flames the last couple of years. They knew it was going to be a problem this year. They've been working on it, continue to work on it, but it's something that's going to get better over time when your centerman like Monahan get better. Shot goes wide. Monahan pinching in. Kings again with offensive pressure. Lance Boma's there. Two-time captain of the Vancouver Giants and Memorial Cup winner back in 2007. Can't get it out. But big Brian McGrattan can. Fourth round pick was McGrattan of the LA Kings back in 1999 out of the Ontario Hockey League. Big Earn, as his teammates call him, knows his role, doesn't he, Charlie?
He really does. He enjoys it very well, and the players really respect that role. That's not an easy role to try and achieve here in the National Hockey League, game in and game out, knowing that you're going to have to get physical out there. But he really takes it as his responsibility to make sure that the guys that are on his bench are allowed to use the talent they have here on the ice, and that's a big plus for a hockey club, and that's the true meaning of a team and a teammate.
8 games into the season, Brian McGrattan without a penalty minute. Russell check from behind. Kopitar is there. Little give and go with Justin Williams. Justin Brown back to Kopitar. He'll walk out in front looking for the shot. Block. Where is it? Behind the net. And Calgary come up with it. But can Gagliardi get it out? Yes, he can, as Glenn Cross will tip it into LA territory.
Dennis Wideman away from the play does what you're supposed to do in a game like this. Stay with your man. He stays with Brown, and he is the guy going for that loose puck.
Jay Brody tied up with a pair of pins. Monahan comes in. It's off the skate of Giordano, but he'll swing it out of trouble. Here's Monahan, has a goal in this game, his 6th of the season. Shot into the glove of Quick, and he'll hang on. But Monahan driving the net after the shot, forcing Quick to make the save. And how about this play by Kopitar?
Andre Kopitar shooting it through the screen, is laying there. And there's Wideman coming in from the right of your screen to take up Dustin Brown. And it's so strange now that the goal has been taken away from Richards. Roger mentioned it at the beginning of the game. No goals by the centerman of Los Angeles Kings. And when you look at the likes of Andre Kopitar, you expect him to score every second game, at least with the opportunities he can develop.
The Flames rookie centerman has 600% more goals than the LA Kings centerman combined. Am I correct on that math? Is that right?
That's pretty good math.
Yeah.
Monahan again getting good quality time, especially on a road trip like this. So you're Southern California, 3 very good hockey teams, 3 very big physical hockey teams, and this is probably the perfect opportunity for Flames management really to see what he can do.
This summer, prior to his first NHL camp, Sean Monahan studied the best face-off men in the league just to see what they did, to see the likes of Joe Thornton, what they did to win draws. That's how he wants to get better. And this, as you take a look at Jeff Carter.
Very dangerous sniper, really getting back into the type of player he could be after, you want to say, exiled out of Columbus.
Yeah, for all of what, 4 months?
Very relaxed player now, really fits in well with a Daryl Sutter style of play. 31 goals, just trailing Stamkos and John Tavares for the last season and a half.
Yeah, you look at the end of the lockout till now, and he's right there. King in the corner. Monahan battling for it as well. There's Richards. Puck comes back to the point. Regeer doesn't get a chance to play it. Weidman will. Dennis Weidman slides it across. Berchi to Monahan. Shot. Handcuffed the goaltender, but behind the play, Weidman is injured. What happened?
Carter staying right with him, getting the stick up underneath his chin. Penalty's going to be called. Carter says already halfway to the penalty box, but a good offensive play again by the Flames just before that.
Calgary getting an opportunity with Jonathan Quick up to the task.
Tonight's Safeway $1 Million Score and Win grand prize winner will receive a week of unlimited luxury at a Dreams Resort courtesy of redtag.ca. Tonight's grand prize winner is Mariko Yamada of Banff. Congratulations. Shop and swipe your club card at Safeway today. You can be our next lucky winner right here on Sportsnet.
Well, Jeff Carter won't get a chance to score a shorthanded goal now.
High sticking against Dennis Weidman. Nice play by the Flames coming through the center ice. Top right-hand corner of your screen. Stick comes up from Carter as Weidman joins the play offensively to try and get the third goal of the game.
Sean Monahan with a good scoring chance. And tough Jonathan Quick a little bit. Quick made the save. Flames onto the power play for the fifth time tonight. They're 2 for 4 so far. They were 1 for 6 Saturday. Another stop by Quick as Sean Monahan, right at the top of the crease, is denied. That one is shot up, and they say no, it hit the glass before it went out, so it's not a penalty.
I think this caught Monahan by surprise as the puck turns over very quickly. Nice little feed by Mike Camilleri. Monahan maybe a little bit too far to the left for his liking. That allowed Quick to really cut down that angle. But again, positioning. You're in an offensive scoring position. Those are things that are hard to teach for young players.
Jared Monahan in conversation with Roger in the intermission, and Roger asked him about that. Sean Monahan said, that's where I got to be. I've got to be in those dirty areas to score goals. As he said to Roger, the puck is finding my stick, and it found it again there.
It always finds good players' sticks if you're in the right position.
Here's Dennis Weidman dropping it off. Camilleri back to Weidman, but he didn't see it. Willie Mitchell delays, and this brings Dustin Brown with Andrzej Kopitar. His shot goes off the leg, bounces in the air. And Giordano, the presence of mind to knock it down, and now Weidman with it. 1 minute and 4 seconds to go in the power play. Kopitar, up ice pressure, and that stymied the Flames momentarily. Here comes Yuri Hudler. He'll cut to the middle. Goes off a couple of skates. Giordano trying to keep it alive. Monahan battling for it, but the stick of Willie Mitchell gets to it. That long stick of Willie Mitchell gets there first and knocks it down the ice.
Just not quick enough on those passes. You just have that split second of a missed pass and bobbles a little bit. That'll really allow the defensive players enough time to get back and recover.
Stempniak trying to go around Robin Regeer. Regeer wins that physical battle. Glencross trying to dig it out. Hudler there as well. Drew Doughty keeps pushing Hudler into the pile. And it comes free. Brody. 15 seconds to go. A hard shot goes wide from Weidman, and will come back out. 10 seconds to go, and maybe time for one last dash up the ice, but there doesn't seem to be much urgency now as Carter's standing in the box, and he's back out on the ice. So just one shot for the Flames on that power play. They're 2 for 5 with a man advantage in this game. Keeping it alive offensively. Voinov and Stempniak after it. Lee Stempniak wins the race. Following up Richards. He plays it around the boards. King gets it. Holds to Carter. Richards hustling to catch up. Jeff Carter finds the trailer. Shot towards the net. Ramo with the save. And Richards trying to dig it free. But Kari Ramo's best stop here in the third.
Intact Insurance is proud to sponsor the Calgary Flames and all the fans who carry a torch for them. Intact Insurance, you're back.
Great back pressure by the Flames. Russell just hints that he's going to jump into the play. Really gets on his horse right here to get back against Richards. And then you can see how Michael Backlund does a dive play to really force the LA Kings player. And this time Voinov, another defenseman, jumping up into the play wide. And that allows Ramo to get that position on that angled shot.
before you describe those diving plays as desperation moves, that's something, Charlie, we've seen at practice. The Flames actually work on those types of plays this year.
Try to get yourself back defensively, take away, and work on that back pressure.
Kopitar with the wraparound. A little pushing and shoving, no surprise that Dustin Brown is there. And Charlie, the one we talked about hybrid icing, but the nets, they're narrower this year. You see a lot of plays like this.
Seeing a lot of extra room back there, not only to make some plays, but right here, Anze Kopitar can really utilize that long reach of his as he is closer to that post now. Instead of going all the way around the net, that net is cut in about a third.
And I think early on, less than a month in, I think we've seen goals because of the change.
Well, the behind the net pass, too, is very important for these players, and they can really take that angle off.
Nearing the midway point here, the third period. Clifford shot, turned away by Ramo. Glenn Cross. Can't get the puck out. Russell watches his man. Stick on it. Gets it to the corner. Stempniak is there, but he gives it away. This is the area that gets the Flames into trouble. When they give the puck away up above the circle just before the blue line. This time they didn't give it away. They get it deep. Stempniak, Glenn Cross. Shot, and that one's up high from Chris Butler. Shane O'Brien back to pick it up. Flames sent Derek Smith and Blair Jones to Abbotsford yesterday. Recalled Chris Breen and Roman Horak. As we take a look at the defensemen who are scoring goals, and no surprise this guy's at the top of that list to help his club.
Doughty now with 3 on the season have contributed to 3 of the 8 that the LA Kings defensemen have scored. They're number 1 in the league. The Sharks, Coyotes, Canucks, all very strong. Flames have 3 goals coming from their defensemen, and that's a big part of today's National Hockey League with the defensive plays out there.
Defensive shot gets in on Ramo, and he scrambles to make the save. Jared Stoll gets a little shove from Michael Backlund. And on the bench, there'll be a little smile with Bob Hartley as he likes to see his players get involved, and players like Michael Backlund have been involved. 2-2, it's TELUS Flames Hockey.
Wednesday night, the 2013 World Series gets underway on our main Sportsnet channels. The St. Louis Cardinals meet the Boston Red Sox at Fenway Park, 5 o'clock Mountain Time. What a series. 2 of baseball's traditional franchises going head-to-head.
Take a look at these 2 going head-to-head. Kari Ramo and Jonathan Quick.
Great goaltending. You're not going anywhere in this National Hockey League season if you don't have great guys between the pipes, and Ramo really looking forward to tonight's game, getting an opportunity between the pipes. His team is much more disciplined tonight, so he's not facing a lot of power plays, and a healthy Jonathan Quick is bad news for a lot of teams here in the West.
Willie Mitchell sliding it to Lewis. He spins away from Colborne. Behind the net, Carcillo, chased by Giordano, gives it up. Colborne is there. Not a lot of options, so he'll just fire it down the ice. Quick, telling Mitchell what's going on, and Stempniak. They've had a little rivalry, Mitchell and Stempniak, tonight. There they are meeting again. Shane O'Brien to Stempniak. And the puck brought back in offside by Dan Carcillo. Talk about an unsung hero. Boy, Lee Stempniak seems like all 8 games this year, Charlie, he's doing something and has done something in the game to impact it for the Flames.
Well, you don't want to say he's maturing as a player because he is a very experienced player before he came to Calgary. But what he's doing, I think he's a more all-around player right now. He was mostly known for being a hot, streaky goal scorer. But right now, whether he's playing with the youngsters or seasoned veterans, he's being a true leader for the club out there and leading by example, whether it's even, as in tonight, throwing his weight around against some much bigger players than Willie Mitchell.
If you're going to change your identity, if you're going to change your culture, if you're going to change the way you play, you got to get buy-in from your veterans, and he's led the way that part of the game for the Flames this year. An icing call as it comes all the way back down.
Interesting to see a lot of from the rest of this period on. Mike Camilleri has had the opportunity to be He won't be able to get out there now because of the icing call, but defensive faceoffs, he has really been out there a lot here in the third period and winning them.
Regeer shot, moves to the slot. Richards just spins around. He goes off a couple of sticks. Giordano up to Berchi. Lead pass looking for Hoodler, and the check is finished by Robyn Regeer. And Flames fans know that feeling really well. Monahan has the puck taken away by Richards. Lead pass looking for Carter. And Russell back to get it. That was vintage Robyn Regeer right there. Jiri Hudler's taken a couple of big bumps in this game, but he keeps moving forward.
Well, usually Regeer stays down on this right side here and just patrols his tunnel of doom right here. This time he raced all the way across the ice.
Goes off Backlund's skate, a race for it. And Justin Williams brought it in offside. We'll take a look at that hit as you take a look at Jiri Hudler catching his breath.
We probably thought it was pretty safe over on that far side, but there comes Regeer, who's on a left defense position, came all the way across the ice. There's the outlet pass as he covers up for his offensive defensive partner, Drew Doughty. He's able to finish that check.
You wonder if after this game Hudler will get a text from his fellow countryman Alex Hemsky, because Hemsky got just murdered playing the Flames as a member of the Oilers down that wing. What a rivalry he had with Robyn Regeer. Flames in the slot. Gagliardi had it in his feet. Nice pass from Curtis Glencross. He has the puck back. Now it's tipped away. Justin Williams with it to Brown at the red line. Brown by Brody. Giordano has Williams bearing down on him. The captain, Brown, has it for LA. Anze Kopitar goes wide, back to the point, over to Mitchell. Mitchell shot through traffic, knocked down. Michael Backlund has it, who played off the glass. Slava Voinov cannot keep it in.
Very important to get that puck out of that defensive zone. Allows the Flames to give fresh bodies out there, plus takes off the pressure.
Icing call. There were some who thought maybe there was too many men on the ice there. As Bob Hartley's crew battling the LA Kings tight here in the third period.
Well, you knew he was in their faces after the San Jose game as far as discipline, and you can't have that lack of discipline against good, solid teams like San Jose, like Anaheim, and here tonight against Los Angeles. And we're seeing a more of a complete effort, and probably the best game I think the Flames have played right from the drop of the puck since the start of the season.
Chris Butler back to Stempniak. Flames knew prior to going out on this road trip it would be a measuring stick, considering the quality of opposition they were going to face in California, plus the Coyotes, plus the Dallas Stars, as it rolls in on Jonathan Quick. Jonathan Quick has a new caddy, or a new stablemate, or a new backup. I don't know what the term is, but it's that young man, Ben Scrivens, former member of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
He has appeared in 2 games this year, one in a backup role, or a finishing up, mop-up role against the Winnipeg Jets, and then came out with his first start, came out with a shutout. So he is a guy that probably realizes he's not going to get a lot of ice time, but when he's in there, he's got to be effective.
Puck's out to center. Monahan pinches it away. Kings try to get it deep. Weidman backpedals to pick it up. Get it away from Jarrett Stoll's forecheck. Wall is sealed off. Berchi comes over, battles Lewis. Flames get it, but they can't get it out. Weidman finds Russell up the middle. It hits Hudler, and it's sent right back in by LA. 2-2 the score, 6:20 to go here in the third period. Hudler with Berchi. Flipping it over, Monahan hustling to catch up. Monahan to Berchi, backhand. Oh, he just missed the outside of the post. It was scrambly, but they got a scoring chance. Gagliardi off the bench, shot, tipped over top. Muzzin is Backlund in. Brody trying to take it away on the boards, can't. And Mark Giordano back to get it. Mitchell has the puck. That's played up off Carter's skate. Gagliardi will bounce it back in. Flames jump on a point. Try to Phoenix to take on the Coyotes tomorrow. They're going to have to shut down the high-flying, high-scoring Mike Smith. 11th goalie in NHL history to score a goal. He did it against the Detroit Red Wings over the weekend. So that's what's up next for the Flames.
Really have to be tight defensively way back there.
I want to put a forecheck on him. And the puck's brought in offside. Kings don't like it, fans don't like it. Sven Baertschi, he's in. Either he can go either way. 2-2 here in the third.
Following the game, it's Connected with Martine Geyer and George Popoulos. They have this preview.
Coming up after the game on Connected, we'll have all the highlights from McKinnon versus Crosby.
And we'll get you set for the World Series, which begins on Wednesday. We hope to see you after the hockey game.
Based on the night for his 38th career shutout.
Richard Petty spent 15 years at the helm of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment until his retirement in 2012. And as one can only imagine.
It's been fantastic, funny bounce and everything. Wow. Kari Ramo was not expecting that.
A lot of times, that's good that the goaltender doesn't get out and be able to play the puck. He stays right where he's supposed to stay, in between the posts, and that way he stays right on top of that one. He looks across, stays very focused as that puck's going across the glass, and that's hard to pick up sometimes on the glass because of the spectators, different outfits that are in the stands. You lose sight of it, but he stays in his net. He stayed right on that post and made the play.
74 games without a goal for Robyn Regehr. Had nothing to lose. Why not pound it in off the glass?
There's that combination I was talking about with Camilleri taking faceoffs in the defensive zone.
Giordano, another funny hop, and TJ Brodie has to be aware. Flames do get it out. Gagliardi, Camilleri, Brodie joining the rush. Gagliardi can't get the shot through, blocked by Drew Doughty. Drew Doughty's had a really strong game tonight. A goal, and he's been defensively stellar. Camilleri trying to get it back to Giordano. Now the Flames will just put it in behind Jonathan Quick.
That's where you learn how to get points out of road games right now. Under 5 minutes to go, you have to be very solid responsibly.
Puck hits the bench and the whistle goes. Our game review is brought to you by Intact Insurance. Your home, your auto, your business. Ask your broker about Intact Insurance Company.
Give it to Mikey. Mikey likes it. Camilleri back in Los Angeles. A goal and assist his first game back. Eric Hudler's really streaking now. 3 goals, 7 assists in 8-game point streak. And the kid's doing all right as Monahan gets his 6th goal of the year on the power play.
Cultural references in that game. King behind the net with the puck for LA. Goes to the corner by Russell. He'll take the puck away. Now pinching in is Willie Mitchell, watched by Hudler. Hudler gets it and can't quite control it. Richards is there. With Dwight King pulling his way in behind the net. Now Richards. Side of the net. That one's bounced up in the air. Richards gets it back as Carter took a shot, but it hit a Flame defender. Willie Mitchell keeps it in. Puck bounces around. Turnaround shot. Not enough on it. And that one just squibs in on Kari Ramo, and he will hang on as Richards running around like a ringneck pheasant out there. He was everywhere.
Willie Mitchell does a great job of keeping this puck in, and there's that long stick again. He's not getting that if he's got a shorter stick, but Richard gets it. Not a lot of confidence in offense and confidence in Richards right now. You can just see the way he handles himself on the ice. That shot right there, you really have to get yourself in that offensive mode.
Oh, that one rattled off the post. Ramo moved after it was too late, but it didn't beat him. The iron was there. Goalie's best friend, as they say. LA Kings pressing late here in the third, tied at 2. Oh, and a collision behind the net. Carcillo ran into Kari Ramo. Referee saw all of it, and no calls coming. That one you will see on Connected later. Shot into the glove of Kari Ramo, and he'll hang on. Holy cow, it is physical when you play the Kings.
Ramo really protecting himself. He stops. Here's the redirection. Thurston takes that shot, goes off of Lewis, off the post. And right there, the collision. And the idea of it is forward is supposed to try and avoid the goaltender, and that's what Ramo is talking to the referee right now about. I shouldn't have to protect myself. He's got to go around me.
Bob Hartley giving Kelly Sutherland an earful as well. The officials hearing it from everybody in this game. The fans, the coaches, even the mascot's been into it with the guys in stripes. Justin Williams, nice play off the boards, falls down, plays the puck to the middle. It rolls around, comes back to the point. Robin Regeer in traffic, and it's blocked. Flames can't get it out. Now they do. TJ Gagliardi streaks in, bounces it off the boards, picked up by Backlund. His shot goes wide. And hustling to get it is Weidman. He's hooked up, and a penalty coming up to Anze Kopitar. As Ramo heads off, the Flames will get another power play opportunity. As Mark Giordano allows the extra attacker to get out there. Net empty. Flames fire it down the ice. No icing. Hoodler picks it up. Hybrid icing coming into play right there. And now it's touched. And Kopitar, the fans, nobody with an LA interest happy with this.
Well, Kopitar reaching in with that stick again as Weidman has control of it, and there's no question there. Right across the hands, he reaches in. And we'll have a look at the collision again in front. As you can see, the big players of Los Angeles not afraid to go hard to the front of net. Ramo get a little bit of slash behind the back of the leg of Brown.
So Anze Kopitar sitting down the Flames on their 6th power play. They're 2 for 5, but Jeff Carter scored a shorthanded goal. So you had the good and a little bit of bad here tonight with a man advantage for Calgary. Let's see what's in the cards now. Weidman back to Giordano. We'll give and go with Camilleri. Nice pass. Comes over to Weidman. 3 Flames up at the blue line. But the Kings intercept it. They'll dump it down the ice.
Lewis very aggressive on the puck pursuit for the Los Angeles Kings. Allow the shot to get through. And that's one thing when you have an aggressive power play or penalty kill like this. You have to get one shot through the goal to the goaltender. And that's where the scramble
Puck
happens.
comes out in front. Quick makes a save. It bounces off the body and he grabs it out of midair. As guess who? Sean Monahan right in the crease of the Kings netminder.
Right here, that's where the verbal abuse will start for a young player like this on the road. But he's right there. He gets hit from behind. And he's able to get himself back up, get composed, and that's, you have to just learn to live with stuff like that.
Bob Hartley has now called his timeout. And he's going to call the troops over and settle them down. There's not a lot of talk right there from the coaches, Charlie. If anybody, it's Mike Camilleri who's doing most of the talking.
Just a little bit of barking here, but what he's mostly doing there is giving them a rest. And they'll be composed. They know the plays they have to. It all has to start with winning of the faceoff. And that's the thing that you start with the offense.
It's doubleheader night tomorrow on Sportsnet West, beginning with the Edmonton Oilers and Montreal Canadiens. The Oilers finish off their 6-game road trip, 5 o'clock Mountain Time. Then to the desert we go, and the Flames and Pigs Coyotes. 3rd game in 4 nights for Calgary. They get underway at 8 p.m. Mountain. Doubleheader hockey on Sportsnet West tomorrow.
92 seconds to go in the 3rd period. 80 seconds to go in the penalty to Anze Kopitar. Do the Flames have some power play magic left? Already 2 power play goals for Calgary in this game. Weidman. Oh, that shot came right up and hit Lewis. He seems okay. He'll just dump it down the ice.
Duplicate play by the LA Kings with Kerstall and Lewis out there. Very aggressive, not allowing the Flames, even though they won the faceoff, to get that shot on net.
Carter and Richards now up front for LA. We'll have to watch. They've been able to create offensive shorthanded. Weidman's shot goes wide. Carter with it. Dumps it to the line. Giordano knocks it down. Didn't see Weidman, and he'll play it back down. Kari Ramo is there. Shots 29-24 in favor of the Kings in this hockey game, but we're tied at 2. Flames on a power play here in the 3rd. Seconds left. Brody keeps it in. Weidman knocked down. Flames get it deep, though. Hoodler out in front. TJ Brody shoots, scores! TJ Brody, 3-2 Calgary with less than 30 seconds to go.
Great puck pursuit by Curtis Glencross. It was a long outlet pass that he didn't catch clean, but he's able to win that battle. TJ Brody gets it. They move it around again very quickly. Gary Hoodler sends it all the way through on the backhand and just walks right into it as quick as trying to look around his defenseman to the left. And it'll go onto the right side of him right here. He's looking, and all of a sudden it comes flying the other side as King was out in front trying to block that shot.
Quick out at the hash marks as the Kings dump it in. Ramo with the bounce. Net now empty for Los Angeles. Extra attacker out there. Stepniak knocks it down. Backlund gets it out. Boma is there. Stepniak has it. Trip. Net. Shots wide. Boma knocked down on the play. Here come the Kings. That will do it. Corey Ramos' first National Hockey League win since March 14th of 2009 as the Calgary Flames come into the Staples Center and stun the LA Kings. Thanks to 3 power play goals, the final one, TJ Brody's with 30 seconds to go.
Looking and wanting to be a National Hockey League team, winning battles, and that's what the Flames have done. Lots of comments as we go through this season already is the hard work and the persistence that they continue to show everybody.
TJ Brody with the game winner, and that gives us another winner by swiping a free club card. Jacqueline Albers of Calgary has won a Lagostina 10-piece stainless steel cookware set courtesy of Safeway and Kraft Peanut Butter. The Flames pick up a 3-2 win over the LA Kings, now off to Phoenix to take on the Coyotes tomorrow.